guys, let's move on to our previews. Let's quickly talk about our preview. The biggest game this weekend definitely has to be at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City up against Arsenal. Manchester City are going to be without Kevin De Bruyne, but like I always tell people, that has never been a problem for them. Those people will always find a way around it. But there's the little business of a London derby, as well. In the weekend, let me just run through all the fixtures from week 5 in the Premier League. Yep. Just a minute. All right. So in week 5, it starts with West Ham taking on Chelsea. Yeah, that's a London derby. We're going to talk about that. Aston Villa back at home playing against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Newcastle travel to London as guests of Fulham. Leicester City, Everton. Liverpool, Bournemouth. Southampton versus Ipswich. Tottenham versus Brentford. Crystal Palace will take on Manchester United. Brighton will be at home to Nottingham Forest, while Manchester City will take on Arsenal. Guys, let's start off with the London derby. Eddie, I'm going to start with you. West Ham up against Fulham.
Derbies are beautiful, right? Because it's what football rivalries are all about. And it is a London derby, but I mean, there was a lot of passion between, Chelsea in the past, and maybe not much now because of, obviously the two clubs and where the clubs are coming from. These are two clubs that have, two new managers that have come into the league. And you could still argue that these managers are finding their feet, right? Chelsea have been going from highs to lows, from beating Wolves, 6, to, drawing with Bournemouth. So they're also going through their growing pains as well. Um, Chelsea have got some players that have really started to flash, in their team, and you can maybe look at them and say, there's probably something, going on. Everyone knows about Cole Palmer, what he's done last season, and what he continues to do. But it feels like we're beginning to see the emergence of other players too, in that team. Noni Madueke, he seems to be coming into his own. Nkunku seems like every time he comes off the bench, he creates an impact,
Yep.
for Chelsea. And it feels like they're beginning to sort out at their midfield, as well. And Nicholas Jackson is not looking like our King Bentner, so to speak, because there was there was some argument that he was looking more like Lord Bentner than he was than any other striker. So when I look at those two games, I know that Chelsea are playing away from home, and I still feel that right now we don't know what Chelsea really is. So for me, I look at those two games and I say, West Ham is a very difficult team to play. I think we've seen that over the years, especially when they are playing at their ground. They can be difficult. You've got the likes of Bowen, so I look at this game and I see a draw, written all over this game, right? I feel like this could be a 1-1 draw, with both teams, really. I think Chelsea, if they score early, they seem to gain more confidence in their play. But I think West Ham have the capability to keeping that score low for as long as possible. And that's why I'm leaning more to a 1-1 draw in this game between Chelsea and West Ham.
Mm. Festus, what does the history book say about this tie?
For West Ham Chelsea, it has always been an interesting game. So for me, I think both teams they're still struggling to find consistency. And when you look at the season so far, Chelsea has won 2 games, they've lost 1, they've drew 1. They've scored 8 goals so far and 5 goals against them. Not too bad when you consider where most teams are. Against a West Ham, who has also just won 1, drew 2, and they've lost 1, and they've scored 5 times and conceded 6. Now, when you talk in terms of their history, the first time these two teams met was in December 9, 1923, in a first division match, which ended 0-0. So also, When you consider what the bookmakers are saying, the bookmakers are actually giving Chelsea this. They are giving Chelsea a 47% chance of winning this against the West Ham of 25%. Now, Chelsea's form currently, I could tip it a bit in terms of favoring Chelsea more than West Ham, but because West Ham is playing at home, I see it as an interesting encounter, and I think it will even out at the end of the day. So I'll go with Eddie on this. That this match is going to end in a 1-1 draw.
Interesting one there. I think we'll admit Femi. Femi, West Ham up against Chelsea. Do you think there are going to be any surprises here? And what will the surprise be? What will the surprise be in this kind of game, actually?
Well, Kali, good to be with you guys. Always a pleasure, and I had to jet in really, really late. Traveling to that old city called Leeds. I'm sure we've got a few friends who are very ardent Leeds Leeds United fans. But when it comes to West Ham versus Chelsea, I look at the managers and I look at Lopetegui as a very, very experienced manager. You know, if you've managed Sevilla, you've managed Real Madrid, you've managed Spain, the national team, definitely you know what you're doing. And Enzo Maresca is a new manager. Yes, he's got a decent team to work with. But what I like about Lopetegui and his West Ham team is that he went and just found out what the problems were, and he tried to fix those problems early. So in defense, they've not been the most solid. I mean, they considered 6 against Arsenal last season and several other games that they just couldn't really shut things at the back. So he knew the goalkeeper wasn't a problem. So he's kept Areola, who's really been a very good goalkeeper for them, kept him in there. But I'm talking about the key signings here. He's got Wan-Bissaka and he's also got Kilman. So for me, I think because they're at home, I'm seeing more a West Ham team that can actually match Chelsea and also win that game. Sorry, I've not really delved into Chelsea because I'm not very convinced about them at the minute. They're a yo-yo team, as you can find. They'll score goals today, they'll struggle tomorrow. You don't go to Wolves and score 6 goals and then struggle in the next game and only win 1-0 in the last minute. So I'm putting my eggs in West Ham's basket, all my eggs actually in their basket, and I'm expecting them to win this by 2-1, actually, Kali. That's my prediction for this one.
Interesting how West Ham have started pretty poorly, winning 1 of their 4 games. They've lost 2, drawn 1. But Chelsea, on their part, like Eddie alluded to, all of a sudden it looks like Enzo is beginning to find a balance to the team. You know, the big question is, why doesn't Nkunku keep starting from the bench? It seems to be their most clinical guy right now, because every time he comes from the bench, you know, he has an immediate impact on the team. But I think Chelsea, from the looks, from what I've seen of West Ham, I think Chelsea might just have the edge a little bit in the side, and I'm tipping Chelsea to win this one 2-1. And that's just because of how West Ham have struggled in front of goal, how they've struggled to keep clean sheets in the games they've played so far. The other game we're going to be talking about, guys, Crystal Palace, they travel to they host Manchester United, and Crystal Palace, the start of the season is not something they want, and that's why they've splashed some money to get in some new recruits, and including Eddie Nketiah, who scored, by the way, during the week, and they'll be hoping that victory over QPR will kickstart their season. Festus, I'll start with you on this one. Crystal Palace at home to Manchester United. Remember, Manchester United had a brilliant midweek. They absolutely blew, Barnsley away. And there were some good signs in the team, and let's not just say, oh, it's a championship side. No, there were some good signs in that Manchester United team. Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. Festus.
Ali, when you say they had a fantastic time midweek, I hope you know the opposition also matters. So
here we go.
I hope you understand that the opposition matters. So you cannot use that to really weigh the form of editing.
Remember, Tottenham struggled. Remember
Well,
Tottenham struggled.
I'm telling you, when you're playing a Barnsley and you're running away with 7-0 and you start believing that, okay, you're there, that is a very wrong way of assessing the strength of your team. Historically, these two teams, for me, Man U has dominated this record, but Crystal Palace over the years have really improved the records, with some occasional wins and matching Man U to an extent. Now, if you look at this season in terms of where Man U in terms of their records, they have won two out of the 4 matches they've played, and they've lost 2. So, the interesting about the win and the loss, two of the wins, one was at home, one was away. 2 of the losses, one was at home, one was away, and it's been woeful. The loss at home was woeful when you consider. That is what I'm saying. Leave the opposition Barnsley and look at the teams they've played and how they've lost. Even some of the wins were like, very they were not convincing win. So when you also look at Crystal Palace, who for me has had a very terrible start, they've lost twice and they've drawn twice also, and you could see that they are picking up also, but clearly both teams has been inconsistent, and this also now gives you how this encounter is going to look like. 2 teams trying to improve on their form, 2 teams trying to kick off their season in a proper way. So this for me will present a very interesting match during the weekend. The bookmakers are actually favoring Man U, but it's a bit close. They are giving Man U 40% to win this, and they are giving Crystal Palace 34% to win. So that tells you also they are looking at it to be a close encounter. Now, I think I want to go with the bookmakers here also. I want to believe that at the end of the day, this match looks like, it will end in a 1-1 draw.
Eddie, what key battles can we look forward to in this one?
I think the battles here would be who can keep the likes of Eze, quiet, the likes of Nketiah, quiet in this game. No matter, I know it's Barnsley, but at the same time, there's something to be said about, just playing well, as a team, finding those combinations. And I know some of those players might not necessarily play, on the weekend.
Anybody can play well against Barnsley.
Yeah, I know. But listen, Barnsley, they put on their trousers the same way as everybody else, one leg at a time. So, they probably are a decent competition. Listen, I look at this game and I think that, there are questions that Man United have to answer. Questions around, have they sorted their defense, right? Do they now have a defense that Ten Hag can actually rely on? Is there a defensive partnership that he wants to go into the Premier League with? Because he's been chopping and changing, and for me, that's very important, right? You need your defense partnership to be solid and at least have a run of games. And then now it goes to what happens in the middle of the park, right? Is Casemiro, still able to do the business? Okay, we know Bruno will always start, and we know that Kobe Mainoo is becoming a mainstay. And then up front, is he really going to start Garnacho, or is he going to persevere with Rashford? I know Rashford scored, a goal. So for me, I think this game is more about Manchester United. Can they answer their own questions? If they don't, they're going to lose this game, to Crystal Palace. I think there's no question about that. Crystal Palace, they're a very dangerous team. They're a team that are capable of scoring, and, they're a team that can be compact. They don't usually lose games by, a high scoring margin, right? So Crystal Palace keep it close. And if they keep it close in this game, I think they can win. So, but I'm going to go with a Manchester United victory, 2-1 to Manchester United. But I would not be surprised if that scoreline is reversed, 2-1 to Crystal Palace.
Awesome. 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Femi, Crystal Palace, Manchester United. Eddie says 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Do you agree with that?
It's very difficult to argue with it because United haven't really given you any reasons to believe they can go away. I mean, we saw them at Brighton the other week. they're not the most reliable of teams. Man United, the manager does not inspire anybody, either when he's talking or when he's managing the team from the sidelines. So it's always looked like there's a problem going on with that team, and within himself, he can't sort things out. Now, Crystal Palace have problems of their own, so maybe they will not inspire you as well. So maybe I'm leaning more towards what Festus said. Look at the history of it, and you say United have a rich history there. For Crystal Palace, you look at the fact that they're at home, the stadium is very small. I haven't been there myself personally to watch an Arsenal game. They will get on top of the players and on top of you. So maybe that could be a factor, and they have the X factor as well. There's no better player on the ball in the Premier League than Eze, and I think he can do something brilliant for them. They've got Wharton to sit and distribute and break things up. Jeffrey Slop can come in and do a job if needed. But up front, they've got Mateta, one of my favorite players in the Premier League at the minute. He scores goals for fun, Mateta. So he's unsung, and I know he will because he's very reliable. And then they've got everybody's favorite player, your defense is in trouble because Nketiah is in town now. So, and he would have his own personal battle against Man United. We all know he scored that famous winning goal for Arsenal against Man United 2 seasons back. So overall, I think it all points to the fact that United ordinarily should be winning games like this, especially if they have any intentions of finishing in the top 4. But they would have their work cut out against Crystal Palace, who are beginning to find form. I don't think they'll win 2-1 like Eddie said, but I'll probably say it'll probably be a score draw 1-1, except a miracle that comes for either team.
Let me, I'm throwing words around. Mateta is scoring for fun. He scored only 2 this season.
It's sneaky jive and education.
His first 90 minutes, he scores 2 goals. Look at the way he dispatched that penalty. Look, Mateta is a class act, and
yeah, we have it. It's okay.
It's okay. And then your favorite player, Nketiah, is in town. No, Nkechi, sorry, I meant Nkechi. No, Nketiah is in town, so
it's okay. But I think Crystal Palace will probably look at that victory over QPR and find some positives from that game. I'm not going to delve too much into this one because I think Crystal Palace will win this one 2-1, and Nketiah will score in that game. So you can take it. Remember, I told you guys last weekend that only Watkins was going to break his duck, and he did that last weekend. Right? So the biggest one, Manchester City, Arsenal. Festus, the gist is that De Bruyne is injured, but we know how this mind games. We know all this. Whatever we saw him, limping out of their Champions League game against Inter Milan. The game they really found very tough, But then let's go into these 2 books and what the bookmakers are saying. Manchester City at home to Arsenal. Last season, they only picked a point from this tie over 2 legs. Will this season be any different?
Kali will never know. But it's something I know, Pep, and for those that play fantasy football, those that have gotten burnt over the years by Pep's mind plays or whatever he does, is what he does well. He gives the impression this person is injured, and a whole lot of gullible coaches, start planning maybe without such player being available, and you'll be shocked at the end of the day. So when you're talking of these encounters, these 2 teams have come of age. Clearly, a showdown between these 2 title challengers, is always currently for the last 3 years is now regarded as a highly anticipated match. Both teams have grown into one of the Premier League modern rivals. And the matches are always a lot of people look forward to the matches because you expect high quality, matured football in terms of the way they play, the 2 good coaches, and how both teams sets up their play, especially since Guardiola, became the dominant force. No, they've been dominating and have largely dominated us now in recent engagements. For me, even without some key players, like we know Ødegaard will be out and we don't know how Arteta is going to set up his team. We know it's going to be very difficult match at the end of the day. But for me, if Arteta decides to go with the same winning formula, the same winning team he used at White Hart Lane, I think they have a chance to get something interesting out of this match. Now, historically, I was in October 11, 1893, in an FA Cup match. Then Manchester City were known as Hardwick AFC, while Arsenal was known as Woolwich Arsenal. The match ended 1-0 in favor of Arsenal. Also, interestingly, if you look at the bookmakers, in this match, they overwhelmingly favors Man City. They are giving Man City 53% to win this, and they are giving Arsenal 21% to win. Now, interestingly also, when you look at the head-to-head record in the last Premiership, this gives you an idea that these two teams have come of age. Arsenal has closed the gap between the dominance of Man City. Now, believe me, if we get a draw in this match, I would take it. And I think it will be a win for Arsenal to even get the draw based on currently the squad level where we are and our personnel not being around. So for my prediction, I'm going towards the Femi's head and heart situation.
No, we don't want your head and heart. We want one.
I'm coming.
We want one.
For me, I'll stay with my heart in there. I'm using my heart to do the prediction in this. I want to see this match end 1-1 draw. And I see a thrilling contest, that will be coming up on Sunday.
Femi, Manchester City versus Arsenal. No De Bruyne, is there a problem?
Well, they were very effective last season, even without De Bruyne, isn't it? When you look at the manager, he knows how to play without his best players. We saw Ireland out for a considerable part of last season, and they were still fine, weren't they? So I'm not concerned that they don't have De Bruyne. What I'm concerned about is the fact that we don't have Ireland for sure, because they may have De Bruyne, but we don't have Ireland for sure. I'm sorry, we don't have Ødegaard for sure. And if we don't have Ødegaard, it takes away the creativity. You saw how we played against Spurs. We were a very functional side, but Spurs are not exactly the most clinical. In the Premier League this season, and I want to just put a bit of perspective, Arsenal have had to play Aston Villa, who are very tough to play against. We've had to go away as well to Spurs, and then we had to play against against Brighton with 10 men, which turned the tide, and that was early in the second half. So our expected goals is way behind Man City. We scored 6 goals, they've scored 11 anyway, so they scored more goals. But our expected goals is way below them and way below our average and what we're capable of. In some of the key stats going forward, we're really, really short at the minute. But also defensively, we've considered the least number of goals in the Premier League. We've only considered 1 goal. It's the same thing with Liverpool anyway. So from what I've seen of our backline, our greatest strength at the minute, without Ødegaard, is that backline. Also, although going forward, we can do something from set pieces, which you did against Spurs, but you need to get set pieces. And Man City have actually had more than double, nearly triple the number of passes in the final tour that we've had. They've had nearly 900, 875 to be precise. We've only had 314. Again, I provide that context of the fact that we haven't had the full complement of players against Brighton. We've played Aston Villa, who have, of course, shown themselves to be incredibly difficult to play against. We've come up with 10 points out of 4 games. So you can always say it's a good return, given the difficulty of our games. But I still have to say, you've got to beat what is in front of you. And so I like the fact that we got the points, but in an offensive manner, we don't have the firepower we had last season yet. And against Man City, you can't defend for 90 minutes. Last season, we were able to break a little. We even almost scored the goal, won the game with Trossard. If anyone remembers that pass, that just one pass across the line and we could have won the game very late on. But Trossard delayed a little and we just never really found that pass anymore. So if you've got Ødegaard, he can dribble his way around tight spaces. If you haven't got him, then Trossard can do a job, but I just I'm a little concerned that our creativity on the ball may be out of the window, because we all know that when you put Ødegaard in the team, he plays really well with one player, and that's Saka. The two of them across that front line, it will slip passes through. We've seen that happen this season. We saw loads of instances last season. So my major concern is Arsenal may not have that firepower going forward. But when you turn the tides and you look at Man City, without De Bruyne, they've got Phil Foden back. Foden played midweek, even though he didn't get a goal against Inter Milan, but he almost scored. He's been unwell, but now he's fully recovered, and it could be a threat. We know Bernardo Silva would always do something. Doku will be in the team. Grealish is back as well after having 2 England games. This felt like a reborn Jack Grealish. So it's not going to be the easiest of games for Arsenal, guaranteed. If you look at expected goals, Arsenal have kept Man City in both games last season to the worst you can think of in terms of combined over 2 games. So can we do it again this season? Yes. I'm just wary of the fact that when you get the ball, you need to be able to keep it. And do we have the players that can keep it without Ødegaard in the team? So I hope we don't have too much pressure on that defense. But if anybody loves defending, it's Gabriel. If anybody loves defending, it's Saliba. And I love the fact that we've got a man of timber and caliber, if I have to use the Nigerian English, at left back now. And Ben White will always do a job at right back. So, Kali, overall, I am seeing more of a draw because I know Arsenal will defend really well. And if Man City nick a goal, we can always go and score one as well anyway. But it would have been a game there for Arsenal to win. So maybe another 0-0 draw on the horizon. But that's not for the purists. I'm sure a lot of fans will not like a 0-0, but take a 0-0 and walk away. But if we get that goal, we will take it as well, Kali. So 0-0 as my prediction actually for this one.
Eddie, will the absence of both De Bruyne and Ødegaard, will it affect the quality of play?
I think it would affect Arsenal more than it does affect Manchester City. If you look at what De Bruyne has done with and without, what Haaland has done with or without De Bruyne on the pitch, the numbers don't necessarily drop that significantly. It's just that he doesn't have the clear-cut chances that De Bruyne is able to give to him. De Bruyne is just a maestro. This game is going to be determined by what happens in that middle of the park. Can Arsenal trio, which potentially might be, Jorginho, Partey, and Declan Rice, in that field, can they match up with Rodri? Because Rodri is key to the heartbeat of Manchester City. He's the one that controls the tempo. He's the one that allows Manchester City to squeeze the midfield, which is what they tend to do, leaving you with very, very little to maneuver with. Arsenal's record at Etihad is downright atrocious. Let's just be honest about that. If you look at the score scored and against Arsenal, it's like 33 goals for Man City and 5 for Arsenal. It's not looking very good. I think it's more psychological for Arsenal. And I'm not trying to say that I don't believe that Arsenal can go to the Etihad and win. I just don't know if it's going to happen this season, right? I would like to go to the Emirates with a fully strengthened team, to build on what we did last season. And last season, we played the way we played against Spurs in the last game, and the only difference was that we could not just, make that goal because Man City have got a great keeper who helps them. And, their defense is not to be messed around with. I feel like Man City will win this game 2-1. I've never really predicted against Arsenal because I feel like, Arsenal is growing. I think that Man City have too many weapons. Arsenal's bench, was really concerning against Spurs, right? There were a lot of people on that bench that I'd never heard of. So you look at beyond Jesus and Sterling, to come in and make a difference in that game. There's really nobody else, to come off the bench. And if you just look at Man City, look at Gundogan, look at, all the players they can bring in, and the rest. So 2-1 to Man City.
Interesting. I feel I feel the quality of play is going to be affected when you don't have De Bruyne and Ødegaard on the side. De Bruyne, regardless of what anybody else does at City, yes, they cope without him, but how they play changes every time De Bruyne is not there. And for Arsenal, Arsenal wants to do the high press. They want to keep the ball, and a lot of it goes through, Ødegaard, and that's why I think the quality of play is gonna reduce. City have conceded goals this season, and they've shown they can concede goals. Against Inter Milan, they showed again that they can also defend, But then a lot of people will argue that Arsenal have the best defense in England at the moment. I just see, yes, the key is going to be who dominates the midfield. In the absence of Ødegaard, it looks easy to just hand it over to Manchester City, but then you have the Declan Rice back in the side, a workhorse who will run. He likes the battles. You have a Thomas Partey in there as well. Who can also run. Who can mark, who can break plays and all of that. Now, the question is who plays as the attacking midfielder, who helps with the distribution, and all of that. And this is where, Partey is finally getting to his best again, and hopefully he finds his passing range against Manchester City. But for City, with Rodri in the side, and then the return of Gundogan, the absence of De Bruyne all they need to do is just switch style. Gundogan comes into the middle, or Foden comes into the middle, and they still are able to keep possession and keep it well. We saw over 2 legs last season that Haaland can be kept quiet. With the right kind of defending, he can be kept quiet. And I'm thinking Arsenal will win this game. I think Arsenal is going to go to the Etihad Stadium and win this 1-2-1. And that's all I'm going to say about the game. At the end of the game, you guys will come and talk to me, and then we'll have a conversation. But right now,
I am choosing.
But I just don't know why. I just feel very confident. I just think Arsenal will go to that stadium and score 2 goals. But Arsenal won't be able to keep the clean sheet. That's what my head is saying, and that's what my heart is saying as well. Thanks, guys, and it's been an awesome time, conversing. And thanks to everybody who's been out there. Please continue to like, subscribe, and post your comments. We actually want to have conversations with you, and trust us. Once we see your comments, we're going to engage. We're going to engage you with our comments. So thank you very much from all the guys. From Femi.
Look, real pleasure. I'm feeling like Kai Havertz at the minute, 65 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again because we're getting a lot of love from our friends and our fans. And I just want to ask for that more of that love. We started out just to please you guys. Make sure you got something to look forward to towards the weekend. And we're devoting our time and energy and resources to doing it for you. So if you keep improving, you get me singing Kai Havertz scores again every week for you. So thank you all. Enjoy the weekend. Whoever you're supporting, have a great time. We know there are not many Man City fans. So I can wish everybody a wonderful weekend. But if you're a Man City fan, just let Arsenal win this weekend, and then you can have a nice weekend the following one. So hats off to everyone for your support. Keep supporting us, and I promise we'll do our best to keep bringing this your way.
Eddie.
Yeah, thank you guys. Always loving, all the love that you guys are giving to us. Thank you for liking and subscribing on the channel. It fuels us, so we love that. So we'll see you in the next one. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.
Festus.
I will always say thank you to our fans who currently is making us happy and supporting us in a way that we never expected we could be getting this kind of support. Thanks for always being there. I want to tell all soccer lovers, wherever you are, make sure you tune into the City Arsenal game, because for me, it's one of the games of the year, one of the games you shouldn't miss. See, like we pointed out during our discussion, City has an impressive record at Etihad Stadium, especially against Arsenal. The last time we won there was 2015. Somebody said he sees us now winning. A lot of us are scared because based on our record and our current squad. But I know for sure it's going to be an interesting game. I want you all to go out there, watch the match, make your comments in the, put them in our comment section, and let's engage you and let's have wonderful discussions. Thank you for being with us and always staying with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's it from us.
Yeah.